Greetings from Japan. I'm back. I was away for a couple of weeks. Now I can kind of return on a hot summer day in July once again to work on the Cosmic Survivor issue 2. Cosmic Survivor Hunt for Nebulon, which is issue 1. It's available on Amazon in print or ebook. This will be probably a 5 to 6 issue mini-series, limited series, an eventual graphic novel. But I'm returning to the artwork, and I wanted to focus today on the Star Knight Cosimo, kind of the maybe the outside of Veritas, the space witch Veritas, who he works with. They're part of the Star Knights, and they're hunting Nebulon, a planet-killing ice monster that's heading towards the Eridanus supervoid. And as I said in the videos before, the Eridanus supervoid is not my creation. It's an actually real supervoid in our universe. Maybe the biggest hole in the universe. It could be the source of the Big Bang, or a path to another universe. They're still figuring that out. But it's there, and it's going to be the setting for the Cosmic Survivor. And this character, Cosimo, is in charge of trying to find Nebulon and stopping him for his next path of destruction. He's a planet-killing ice monster that takes the form of a comet and impacts the planet, trying to destroy its core, to explode the planet and feed on it and renew his energy. And the Star Knights have been in pursuit of him for quite a while. This is kind of maybe the iconic character of the series. Cosimo is the worker in the field, or the soldier out there trying to find Nebulon, and he flies around on dark energy, which again is a real thing in the universe. Dark energy and dark matter. Dark energy is the source of Cosimo's powers, and dark matter is the source of the space witch Veritas's powers. These aren't things that are assigned to superpowers normally, but they are cosmic phenomenon, dark matter and dark energy, and they exist in our universe, and they're a big topic of physicist conversation. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Cosimo, who started this series, actually. I was a big fan of the Silver Surfer, which looks nothing like this character, but this character has its origins. I wanted my own spaceman, and I wasn't going to make another Silver Surfer, so I had to come up with my own creation. And I kind of found him by accident. But just before I touch on that, this is the Silver Surfer. This is a cool graphic novel. This shows the Silver Surfer Galactus story without the Fantastic Four. And it's pretty good. It's by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, who created the character. More Jack Kirby on this one. And there's a great Mobius issue by Stan Lee and Mobius, which I really like, featuring the Silver Surfer, if you want to explore that character. He's also, I have these characters called the Cyclops Warlords in my Tales from the Fun Side comic, which are kind of related to how this character looks. They have that one-eyed, kind of light orange head. I love the Ray Harryhausen Cyclops monster from Sinbad and the Seventh Voyage. I love the design of that character. It's the most perfect Cyclops I think ever made, and I'm just constantly biting off of that. It's just Ray Harryhausen loved the Greek myths, and he did iconic designs for the Greek myths, which is very amazing if you think about it. If you think of the artists who tackled the Greek myths, what Ray Harryhausen brought to the design of the gods and goddesses, and especially the creatures. And I know Medusa is one of his masterpieces from Clash of the Titans, but I consider the Cyclops monster, or the Cyclops from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, just perfect. Just perfect. So that's the origins, a little bit of this character. He was originally supposed to be a supervillain for one of my cartoon superheroes. And he was a little bit more cartoonish in his beginnings. But I'll show you this. This is from one of my sketchbooks from 2010 to 2012. So this probably definitely was 2010. And this was the, kind of earlier versions of Cosimo. And just to make sure you can see it in the screen. Yes. So these are the rings that he flies around on, and he kind of goes through these wormholes that it creates to travel great distances in the universe. And that is a big thing in this comic, to show how far everything is. I live in Japan now, but when I go back to visit my folks in Boston, and we originally live in New York City, but we also live in Tokyo. And all I have is my, I'm always flying, maybe a couple times a year, if we can afford it, from Japan to New York. And I just lose sight of the distance of how far that trip is. I mean, it's literally around the world. Imagine if I had to take a boat and do that trip. And I think, like in a lot of movies and science fiction, we lose sight of how big the universe is and how much travel would be required to go to a distant place. It's usually done in a quick cut in some of these science fiction movies. I think the best movie that did it was 2001: Space Odyssey. You really had a sense of distance, of time. I'm also a fan of, Disney's Black Hole. I thought that was the space scenes in that that movie pretty incredible. So even though this is creatures in space, like fantasy monsters in space, I'm trying to capture the truth of space as best as I can. And I've been listening to books on an audiobook of Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that book is incredible. The imagination, the visualization of how the ocean looks underneath, and just the extent of the fantasy. But Jules Verne, he wasn't a deep sea diver. He had to imagine all these things. And this is the same problem that we have if we're trying to visualize something that we just have no reference for. Deep space on a corner of our universe, which really exists, to go to this super void. In the beginning of the book, and in the first book, I'm actually drawing the super void. This is from an earlier page in this issue 2. This is kind of a detail of how I envision the super void looking. And it's a 6 to 10 billion light year hole in space. So it's a very tough visual unless you draw just like a big black hole. But this is like ripped energy at the edge of it. I'm trying not to make it look like a black hole, but it has some effects of a black hole, but it's a different design. And just trying to convey the vastness however I can in the medium of comics, which is really suited to a story like this. So Cosimo, just to show you a few more pictures, these were early sketches. Here's another one. This is probably around 2011. We're in the year 2023 now, just to show you. So these are some early sketches. I like doing these in color pencil. He was supposed to be a supervillain for a character, and I started thinking more about the possibility, and then started dreaming up the Star Knights, and this series took off. Here's another one. Let's see here. This is actually was transferred directly from this drawing using tracing paper and carbon paper. I blew this up on a Xerox or a printed copy to try to get it. Oh, actually, I didn't blow this up. This is the exact same size. And then I expanded the drawing from that. And I really recommend if you have a sketch that you really like, and you can use a print to kind of blow it up or shrink it. I would trace it and then put it down on carbon paper, and it'll make a beautiful impression of the drawing, and then you can kind of restart the drawing onto the page. And if there's some interest, or if I get inspired, I'll do an example of that in a future video. I like to show that process because it's very handy. I did it for this one and for this one, and that was probably the only. No, I did it 3 places on this issue. If I copy the original drawing, I'd rather have as much of the original drawing as I can to work from, and that's why I did it instead of just kind of sketching from that drawing, because it would slightly change, and I wanted to keep the essence. So back to Cosimo. These are very early sketches. Let me see. This is Nebulon. This one. So, as I was saying, this is a direct transfer from this drawing. I did it 13 years ago, but I fitted it onto the panel. It had the idea I wanted. And again, I encourage that. If you have something that just has the essence of what you want in a sketchbook, I would just directly copy it from the sketchbook, and then use tracing paper, and then you can put carbon paper underneath the tracing paper and press it onto your panel, and just keep the exact direction of the lines, everything, and then build upon it. You can kind of see the difference between the original and the one I expanded upon here. But those are some of the early sketches of Cosimo. I've been doing them maybe a couple years before that. I kind of daydreamed about how the character would look at when I was working as a designer in New York. You know, you have a lot of time on the train. You kind of keep visualizing the stories and the possibilities. You know, going to work and so on. So this is bringing him to life. I think one thing I wanted to show in the narrative of the story is in issue 1. He's kind of tired of looking for Nebulon, the ice monster. He wants to track him down, and he got information of where he is, and he's trying to catch him as fast as possible. So he's kind of going into a deep warp speed here. I don't have too many examples of how that's done as a reference, so I was looking for any drawing I had in the past to sort of convey that. He wants to catch Nebulon before he destroys another planet, and usually these planets have life on it, and he's furious that they can't track him and catch him in time. And so he's trying to go faster and faster across the universe to get this guy. And I tried to bring that into the drawing as much as I could. I'll show you the next page. I gotta ink these soon, but you can kind of see the pencils. Here, this is the page before this one. This is page 20. Again, I did this at the end of 2021, so I have a lot of catch up to do. But it kind of shows you some of his powers as a spaceman, that he's different from someone like the Silver Surfer. He goes on his concentric rings, and he goes into his worm tunnels to try to warp across space even faster. And this was an example of an identifying element. Here in the Eridan supervoid, you see the rip hole, which is kind of a identifying element that I was talking about in earlier videos. And because I've established that early in this issue and at the end of issue 1, you can kind of see how it helps the narrative in a strange scene like this, where you know, I'm trying to show millions or billions of miles from where this character is to there, and because I established what the Eridanos Superboy looked like, it helps add the distance and gives you the vastness of this character's problem. You're trying to find a needle in a haystack. But one of the powers of Cosimo is that he can kind of scan the universe using dark energy, and his antennas are kind of used to open up wormholes, but he also can kind of do a scan of the area around him, trying to find an energy trace on the Ice Monster Nebulon. And that's what's happening here. I'm just gonna try to push it up here in this page, where he's taken a stop and trying to see what direction the Ice Monster, who travels the universe as a comet, is going in, and he wants to ambush him before he gets to the next planet. So on the Amazon page, you know, I talk about the chase in space, and this is the hunt for Nebulon, mainly by this guy, but also Veritas through her powers. The Space Witch Veritas, his leader, is looking for him too. And they had a falling out in the first issue because of Cosmo's frustration that we just can't find them. And they parted ways, and Veritas would rather work together, but they're working separately now. So that kind of sums up what I want to say. I'm very excited that I could show more of what these Star Knights can do, and I hope you catch it. This is issue 1, and issue 2, when it's done, will kind of continue from the story from this book. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.